It's that time again. The annual conference of the American Society of Ag Consultants, otherwise known as ASAC, is going to be held in Fort Myers, Florida, this November 4th and 5th. Kurt Covington is one of 9 professionals who will address the conference. The other speakers who will cover a wide range of topics represent Florida Farm Bureau, Florida Citrus Commission, University of Tennessee Institute of Agriculture, National Ag Law Center, Risk Mitigators and Advisors, Tyler Associates, as well as the lead economist for dairy at CoBank, and myself, Chrissy Wozniak from North American Ag. The day and a half of presentations will be followed by ag tours on Tuesday afternoon at Echo Farms, one of my favorite places here in Fort Myers. Attendees will experience farming at its most creative, with unique demonstrations, plants, and techniques being used to help farmers and urban gardeners in developing countries. A second tour at Echo will showcase simple technologies that can improve food, water, and shelter for millions of people. A third tour of a hydroponic grower is also being planned. For more information and to register, visit www.agconsultants.org. That's www.agconsultants.org. See you there. The 2022 growing season has been a roller coaster, to say the least. But what if I told you that you could add another revenue stream for your farm? Harvest Hosts connects over 200,000 RVers to a network of thousands of farms, wineries, breweries, and small businesses. Hosts simply offer RVers a one-night stay on their farm, and in return, RVers patronize the host business. The program is a cost-free opportunity, and 100% of the money spent on site goes straight to the host. In 2021, members spent more than $40 million across host locations. If you don't sell produce or products on your farm, no problem. You can get creative with what you can offer travelers, create farm experiences, sell farm-branded swag, and even receive tips. Hosts can accept or deny stay requests, manage the number of RVs, and set blackout dates. No hookups or services are required to host. Visit harvesthosts.com/hosts. That's harvesthosts.com/hosts for more information and to apply to become a host today. Hi, and welcome to the North American Ag Spotlight. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. Today's guest is not only a farmer and owner of an agriculture spraying business, but is also an Emmy Award winner. He's co-founder of the PBS show American Grown, My Job Depends on Ag. And it's a show dedicated to illustrating how many people's lives are related, connected, and most importantly, dependent on agriculture. From Dos Palos, California, I would like to welcome Erik Wilson. Welcome, Erik, and thank you so much for joining me today from your job.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for the opportunity.
And where are you right now?
I am
in the field in California, right?
Yeah, in the field in California, in Dos Palos, California. I was doing a job for a customer, a family farmer adjacent to where we farm to, just down the road, doing some spraying on his cotton for him this morning. I'm going to go start some water on my own cotton this afternoon.
Nice. So how did you get your start in ag? Have you always been a farmer?
No, my parents weren't farmers, and neither were my grandparents. I grew up in Madera, California, which is also a San Joaquin Valley town, Central California town too. And my best friend, parents were farmers, and I was always curious about the industry from an early age. And it's kind of surreal for me. I pinch myself seeing I got in here to farming, first generation, in farming 400 acres now. Sometimes it's just crazy to think from where I was when I was a kid to where I am now. It's been quite the journey. But I think my upbringing, my curiosity about agriculture, I can relate to a lot of my city friends. And that's what I've been passionate about, is to try to engage them into, I think we've forgotten the importance of agriculture. It's been dismissed. I think a lot. We take it for granted.
Yeah, for sure. So your show is called American Grown, My Job Depends on Ag. What's it all about?
Well, it's to highlight all kinds of aspects of jobs and issues in not just in California, but we've done issues with farmers and ranchers in Oregon even. Interesting about how this all took place was I got a phone call from a childhood friend out of the blue. I hadn't seen him probably in 20 something years. I'm 48 now. So last time I saw that guy was probably like 13 years old. And I was like, wait, why is he calling me? And he asked me if I would be interested. His producer that they work together is on our Facebook page. My Job Depends on Ag Facebook page. And I didn't know that at the time. And he wanted to entertain the thought of us helping him put people on camera for a water documentary that he was doing for PBS. I was apprehensive because I don't, water issues and in mainstream media sources, a lot of times agriculture's got the short end of the stick on truth, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And so I was reluctant, but I trusted my friend, and I was willing to get on camera too on that topic. And he produced a very produced show and accurate show and called Tapped Out. And then his wife thought about, because they were members of our Facebook page and all those stories and the concerns that they were reading from farmers. See, that's what our page was designed to have focused on everybody having an opportunity to speak. And a lot of Facebook groups, large ones, it's a like page where the founders or the people who develop that are the ones who are always speaking, right? But this one is where everybody's open to share their stories and discuss. It's a public group, and they just sat back and were listening to all these stories, and they reached out and said, hey, we would like to do a show from what we've seen from your Facebook page. And that was exciting for us. And they were on our third season. He's already fully funded for his fourth. And so it's been really, really exciting to see this go the way it has.
That's amazing. So it all started from a Facebook group.
It actually started, if you want the backstory a little bit to this. So one of my good friends, Steve Malanca, and we kind of had a collision course. This was kind of just on a spontaneous combustion, so to speak. First off, we're like big Fresno State football fans, and he was a manager at our local John Deere dealership. And I would frequent there over the years, many years, and we became pretty good friends talking about that. And like I told you before, my friends from Madera, they were family farmers. And as a kid, I remember his dad and his family and his brothers very concerned about our water issues back in the late 80s. So I was aware of the issue then and the struggle that they were having way back then. And me and Steve were passionate in the same way about agriculture. And I was in a field like I am today, and he called me and he goes, hey, and it was just a great gesture. He just wanted to make a sticker, a decal that we could put on our cars to show people, hey, my job depends on agriculture as we drive through cities, right? And I got home that evening and I said, Steve, it would be great if we take this to social media and ask people, does your job depends on agriculture? In some way it probably does. If they really are honest, it can be traced back to it. And that's what the focus was. So it started with Steve and in the creation of his decal that you guys see, the My Job Depends on Ag decal. And we didn't know what to expect. I think in the first month, I was the only admin on the page, and I personally approved 22,000 people then moderated the page all alone. And then he got on there moderating, and we have probably 12 to 14 moderators. All of them I never met before in my life. All of them. And I chose them because over time they were very articulate and calm and very knowledgeable about agriculture. And so they stretch from the far reaches of Northern California all the way to Southern California. And some of them I haven't yet to even meet in person. So it's been really neat. It's been an organic group. There's been many opportunities that people and corporations had wanted to lock arms with us and kind of, fund it. And we just stayed away from the funding. We wanted to be able, maybe it's a mistake. It was, people thought that we should probably take and use our numbers and people and go and lobby politicians, but I didn't want any part of that. I wanted to lobby the people. I think I wanted to go around that. I just want to talk to them. And so in doing so, Steve and I, when we started having this great demand for decals, we generated some money and we put it into a college fund, so to speak, at nonprofit thing that we got going on, and we disperse this most of the money through a program called Land-Based Learning out here in California. So we've given a lot of $500 to $1,000 scholarships and to ag programs at universities over the last 6 years. So that's been the good fun part about this whole thing.
Wow, that's incredible. What a cool story. And it's truly grassroots.
Truly grassroots. There's no money that I put in our pockets from any of this. And in fact, my daughter is an ag major at Fresno State. She just graduated, and she was trying to apply for Smith Camp. It's a very prestigious scholarship there. And I remember when we first got started, when we were doing our income taxes, I had to report the sale of the decals, even though we weren't collecting keeping any money. It kind of bloated up or affected what I was putting on paper. And so I told Steve, it was kind of unfortunate, but so it's been all in all, I think this has been a positive thing for agriculture, for me and the admins. It's hard work managing a social media site. We have over 100,000 people on there now. Wow. So it can be quite daunting managing it, and the amount of posts and people that are we had a lady share a story from Texas. It had over 1 million views, almost like 900,000 views. 980,000 views from her conversation that she had with our group. So it gets busy some days on that page.
I guess. And you had in the last couple of weeks some pretty cool news. You won an Emmy for the show. So what was that like? And was your whole team there? And did you celebrate? And did it feel real?
Actually, I was asleep in bed that night at 7:30. So I woke up to the news with the producer texting us. And so that was really exciting for us to hear that great news, for sure. I wish I could have been there, but I work so much. I don't have time. I got to do another interview in supposed to in LA here in a couple of weeks, but I don't know. We'll see.
Wow. That's amazing. So who do you feature on the show? Are they farmers? Are they meat packers? Who are they?
Oh man, it's a broad spectrum. I mean, we got everybody in agriculture: farmers, packing facilities. We try to hit, cattle ranchers. I mean, we've been all over the place trying to get people to. The whole idea was really to, just show, especially for living in California, strange place. Okay, because the interior is agriculture. It's dominated by agricultural economy, and you have to physically go over mountain ranges to get to the major metropolitan areas. You have to go out, and believe it or not, there's a lot of people that live in San Francisco, which is only probably 2 hours at the most from my house. And, LA is probably 3.5 hours from my house, 4. And a lot of those people have never been in the interior of California, have no idea what's going on.
Really?
At all. Oh, for sure. And it's because for them, there's no reason to come into the San Joaquin Valley. They have everything they need there. And so I think that this just gets dismissed or they're unaware of this fabulous region, one of the better places on earth to grow so many different food products. Fresno County alone, where I'm at, there's probably 400 different commodities that have grown here, and so it blows people's minds from other states I'm looking out right now, I'm looking at cotton, alfalfa, almonds, pistachios, canning tomatoes, watermelons.
Wow.
In just the circle I'm sitting in right here, and it's all just being grown on corn. And then, so, it's a pretty special place.
Wow. Yeah. And I've never been to San Francisco or LA but I've been to Fresno and Tulare.
You've been to Fresno.
You're missing so much.
Yeah. And it's not aesthetically looking. If you're into agriculture, it's cool. But for the most part, people on the main thoroughfares, they don't really get to see it when you're going down the main arteries in California. And Highway 99 and I-5 do not represent the scope and scale of what's going on out here. So you got to kind of get off the beaten path to see it.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And the ag economist, Damian Mason, he often says that the mistake that we make in agriculture is that we think people care about where their food comes from. But when you think about your mobile phone, people don't really care how it was made. No, they just want it to work. Right. So
100%.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I totally tend to agree with that. People are
yeah,
busy. Eating is a
sure.
necessity. But how this show has cut through that and has engaged consumers in an educational way, which is so amazing and so fascinating. And why do you think it was so successful?
I think from the beginning, and this isn't to pat ourselves on the back, but I think we distance ourselves from the show having appearance. It's coming from, um, people are just suspicious and cynical anymore. If they think it's coming from some big corporate ag deal, that's a label that gets put on, then they just don't want to look at it. But this is just, I think the authenticity, like you were saying earlier, and just from the get go, I think we built a base early on for 5 years before the show got really going of people who knew what we were up to and liked it. And so when this came out, they were already tuned in and really wanting to watch. And businesses, it's so awesome. You can't believe how many businesses, even police departments, have our sticker on their cars. Right?
Really?
Yeah. I
Wow.
mean, school districts have put our stickers on their cars. The police department in my town here, the stickers on their car. Their cable, the unwired broadband, which I love at my house, is I didn't even know it, but one day I had to move the antenna or something. They came out, and lo and behold, they have our sticker on their car, and I didn't even know it, on their truck. So businesses were putting the big banners of "My Job Depends on Ag" on everything around here, and it just was great, to see people making that proclamation. My job depends on agriculture, and they wanted to be seen and heard. And so, I think the base of that. I mean, from automotive dealerships, I go and buy a new truck in Clovis and Hedrick Chevrolet. I just passed by, I saw a work truck I liked. I pulled in there, and on the front door, they got "My Job Depends on Ag." Restaurants,
Wow.
have it. In Lake Tahoe, I go to Lake Tahoe and I see stickers at a restaurant front door,
That
and
is so cool. I love it.
it is pretty cool. And so it's been exciting. And there's been, you got the other side of people who don't like what we're doing for political reasons, I guess. And so we've had our battles there. But well, I think most people can see that we're in this for the long term because we're passionate about it.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, Americans tend to spend approximately 12% of their income on food. In your
Right.
opinion, how educated are those consumers on where the dollars go?
Not very not educated much at all. And this is why I always say in California, um, virtue signaling, it does not make great public policy, because again, when you want to have all these you have all these feel good legislation that comes out of Sacramento for our state. I'm fully aware that when it comes to the moment when the person is putting their food in the grocery cart, they don't care, like you say, about where it comes from. And most people have a budget and they're price oriented, and it's hard for them to see the value in a cantaloupe from the San Joaquin Valley or a cantaloupe grown outside of our country, what it took and what we kind of accomplished with the regulatory climate here to produce that fruit. That story's not there. They don't care. And I don't mind. I understand it. I'm the same way when if I'm going to go to Home Depot and buy screwdrivers, I'm not concerned about the backstory. So that's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
I do think that with people with COVID, I think there was an opportunity for people to reexamine in supply chains the importance in national security reasons to at least have a homegrown food supply,
Right.
and not be reliant on ships bringing it to you. And how do we ensure that not for our economy? Like you say, we spend 12% of our money on food, which I would argue in California, they always use that statistic in a way to demean those that don't like agriculture, to demean agriculture's importance as far as an industry. They'll say it only represents 2% of our economy. And what they do is they'll take the farm gate receipts and compare that to the state's total GDP. They kind of leave out the multiplier effect, or the true scope and scale of what agriculture is really providing for people. Because if you're just talking farm gate receipts, well, I have a hard time leaving out the entire supermarket industry or the entire restaurant chain industry. That's all food related, directly dependent on farming. So you leave those out of the alcohol. There's a whole lot of things that you start circling in, and it gets pretty big. But you would want agriculture at the bottom of your pyramid, because if agriculture is 30% or 40%, you're spending most of your money on eat and not all this other stuff. And that's important. 12% is a good number.
Those are really good. Great points there. And 1 in 12 American jobs are dependent on agriculture, but a big failure, in my opinion, is the school system. The lack of education about these jobs. So how are kids supposed to find their careers in agriculture? You know, you have the same story. I didn't grow up in agriculture either, but we both work in ag, and somehow we did it. So
yeah. You know, people have asked me what we could do to get kids engaged in agriculture. And it's not so much just, I think you can do two things at one time. I think you can get them to think about agriculture, but I do think the public school system needs to, even from a young age, kids are smarter than they get credit for, have them build their own mock businesses in a way, or have fun groups where you're building your own business, whatever widget or whatever you want to make. Get them to understand, you know, that you can't make this unless you have this over here to complete what you're trying to build. It gets them to understand a supply chain issue, I think. Because I think, and maybe I'm different from most people, when I go into a grocery store, my dad used to call me Mr. Goodwrench when I was a kid. It wasn't a term of endearment. It was actually, he would be frustrated because I'd take his lawnmower engine apart and I couldn't put it back together, or his fishing reels or stuff like that. And he would get frustrated with me because on the outside, a lawnmower engine looks like a block of metal. But it was fascinating to me to see the internal parts working like a watch or something. And so that's how my mind has always worked. So when I go into a grocery store and I see citrus on the shelf, I just see a vast array of jobs. Mm-hmm. This is the people who built the cardboard boxes that shipped to the store. You know, if everybody that's in part of that process, it's enormous. And that's one thing that I think they should teach in school is simple things. How many jobs, how many people depend on take to get this product to you? And when you grow up, kids, there's all these jobs waiting for you in this part of the supply chain for just this one product in agriculture, or this product over here. It's just, it gives them I think, maybe I'm wrong, I just think it gives them a plethora of opportunities to choose from.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And changing gears a little bit, farmers have seen, you know, their fair share of hard times over the last 2 years. Hard times create innovation, though. So how are you seeing growers innovate in the last couple of years now to protect their crops and their profit margins through working every day to day and through the show?
Oh boy, California, you got to. I think the best of the best are what is left, and I think, you know, it's like kind of like what I was just talking about. I think just to remain productive, you're just ones that are left are just naturally resourceful. We don't waste anything, and we invent new ways. Here's an example. If you want to, this is honest. This in California, I'm a cantaloupe farmer, okay, and California labor laws made it extremely challenging for us to have any shelf space anymore. To be honest with you, when people don't understand, the grocery stores are not just going to pay us more because we're paying our people more. Because if they can get a cantaloupe somewhere else, they want to buy low and sell high. That's how they pay their business. That's how they stay in business. So if our cantaloupes are overpriced, they're going to find somewhere else to go get it. Okay. So what do we do to combat the labor issues that make it harder for us to compete? Well, the melon industry and seed the breeders and have taken a cantaloupe that used to take, this is just in such a fast time, 10 years ago, when you would grow cantaloupes, they would come out and pick maybe 10 to 20 days in your field. And because the fruit would ripen at it, they didn't all ripen at the same. So they had to walk the field. You have the same number of workers, and each crew is probably 25 people, and they're walking the field looking for ripe melons, and they're putting them in the box. Well, now, just in 10 short years, they've because of hybrid, great plant breeding, they've developed varieties now that they could do this in 3 days. You have the same number of people, but the plant itself is now holds on to the fruit, and they've all kind of got a more uniform maturity. Early on, it sacrificed a little bit in taste because they were trying to develop. But this is the fascinating about agriculture. It's always fascinating. You give us a problem, and man, we can find solutions to it. Just left to our own devices. So we got a challenge, we could fix it. This is one example of, I tell people, that's how we've stayed in business. We went from having to have a crew out here for 20 days to 3 days, 4 days, you're done. So that's how the processors have stayed in business, and we've been able to continue to grow cantaloupe for now.
Yeah, that is so cool. Unbelievable.
It is interesting. It is. Yeah. It is. It's very, and almond trees out here where I'm at, we have high groundwater out in this area. 15 years ago, trees weren't grown here, but now they develop rootstocks that can tolerate it, and so now they're doing very well. So agriculture is neat in that regard.
It definitely is. So, what are some of the opportunities that you think growers should be embracing in 2022?
I don't know. It's going to be a tough one because of the inflation on everything. It's pretty hard. We'll see. To be honest with you, I'm really worried that this is going to pop. Right now, commodity prices are at a record highs for some commodities, which is good. It helps us at least combat the inflation issue. But at the same time, if any of those numbers fall suddenly, it's going to be a long time before the inflation returns back to anywhere we've seen 2 years ago, if it ever does. I don't know. So that's scary, really scary. So I'm optimistic. I have to be, I guess, to go to work every morning in this industry. But I think as long as the prices can remain, maybe they're bloated too. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what you guys are thinking on your side of the coast, but I kind of worry about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of feeling the same right now. If the prices stay high and inputs are high, it's all right. Yeah. But if they go low and there's no profit margin, who knows, right?
Yeah. And for sure.
Yeah. So I have one last question for you.
Okay.
Why do you serve the industry, and what are you the most passionate about?
I'm most passionate, honestly. I had this question the other day. So what are you thinking about agriculture? What do you worry about? In California, it's always water. But to be honest with you, I'm more worried about the land prices have gotten so crazy in California that a guy like myself doesn't see much of a future is passing this on to my children or anything like that, because of the massive amount of big, and wouldn't just say it's not just corporate ag businesses getting involved in agriculture out here. It's a lot of different outfits that are getting involved. I mean, Canadian teachers unions buying ground out here and stuff like this. So it's paying dollars that nobody else around here that lives here can afford. And what I'm passionate about, I'm going to have my 30-year high school reunion there. And looking in the back of the yearbook, it saddened me because you see all the wonderful businesses that always, supported the school, and you can see their advertisements in the back of the yearbook and stuff like that. If pick up one from your childhood, and they're gone now. The downtowns are gone, and it's kind of sad. You had this kind of middle class. We've had our issues, in the 80s and 90s, but it just seems that the people that are buying land here aren't going to be supporting the local band. They're not going to be on your school boards. They're not going to be sponsoring your little league baseball teams. Mm-hmm. And that sense of community for me is very important. And I think that in California, these agricultural towns in rural America are dying because of it. I don't know what it's like in your area, but that's what I see. And I'm passionate to try to get people to understand that when these kind of operations are buying up farmland, they have a different exit strategy than you and I.
Right. Yeah.
And
I think it's the same across the country in both Canada and the US. And I think we need to stand up.
I don't know what to do about it, and it's the regulatory issues in California has favored a vertically integrated farmer who is a picker, panner, farmer, processor, shipper, packer, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of us just don't have the capital and the means to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ground out here is $50,000 an acre for fallow ground now. Yeah.
Wow. That's got to be the highest in the country for sure.
Some of it, yeah. I mean, not 50 for trees. You could be at 38 to 42 for fallow ground, but I can see it going to 50 real soon. I can't afford that.
No, yeah, that's for sure. Wow. So where can people find you? Where can they find the show and the Facebook group?
The easiest thing for anybody to do if they want to watch the Tapped Out water documentary, we're having Tapped Out 2 coming along the way here, and our American Girl Mind Job Depends on Ag, is just to get on your Play Store, download Valley PBS app. You can watch the shows anywhere, anytime you like. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also, I'm on My Job Depends on Ag Facebook page. And so anybody can reach out to me there.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
It was a great conversation.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight, YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, or Ag Fuse channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to today's Ag Spotlight episode, where we put the spotlight on people and companies doing great things for the agricultural industry. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or on your favorite podcasting platform, and give us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on YouTube and Rumble to see the video version of Ag Spotlight. Also, head on over to NorthAmericanAg.com to subscribe to our Industry Connect update newsletter. If you're interested in advertising opportunities, email us at connect@NorthAmericanAg.com. Thanks for listening. Our newest podcast by North American Ag is called What Color is Your Tractor? The stories behind the ag brands you love and the ag brands you love to hate. Hosted by me, Chrissy Wozniak. We take a deep dive into the companies that have built modern agriculture. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Go to whatcolorisyourtractor.com. Available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.